So let's talk about the other concept called grave marker. Can we put a mark on the grave? And if it is allowed, then what are the restrictions? What can we do and what we cannot do? So if we look at all the hadith, the scholars come to the conclusion that putting a grave marker on the side of the head of the grave, that is allowed, that is in fact recommended to do so. And why should one put a grave marker on the head of the grave? That is because there are a few reasons. First of all, as we said earlier, that a grave needs to be respected. A person cannot sit on it, stand on it, cannot walk over it, as it is a home of the deceased person. So it is very important that the graves are known to people, that this particular place, somebody is buried inside it, underneath it, so people know about it and are careful from that. So that's why we need to have a grave marker. Now, what kind of grave marker can we have? We will look into this. But what's the evidence that we are allowed to have a grave marker? We have from a hadith where when this one Sahabi, he died, his name was Uthman ibn Mazun. He was the first muhajir to be buried in Baqi al-Gharqad, the cemetery, famous cemetery. And he died actually after the Battle of Badr, during that time. And when he passed away, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he commanded a man, when all the burial process was over, and the last step, he commanded a man to bring a stone, a rock, a piece of rock from the side and put it on the grave. But that person was not able to carry it. So Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself went to that rock, and he exposed his arms and he carried it himself until he placed it at the location of the head. And when he did that, he said, I mark with it my brother's grave and bury him with those who will die of his family. This is from Abu Dawud, it's a Hasan hadith. So that's the evidence the scholar gave that since Prophet Muhammad himself did mark the grave of Sahabi Uthman ibn Mazun radiallahu anhu, that's why we are allowed to do it. However, people deviate a lot when it comes to grave markers. So if you see from that picture that I have there in the slide, many people do this way where they have written down something on the grave marker. Some people write Quran, some people write poetry, dates, when person died, who's the son of what, and everything, very detailed. So that's all wrong. Why? Because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, it's been recorded in another hadith where he said that he prohibited plastering a grave, sitting on it, or building over it, adding to its height, and most importantly, writing on it as well. It's highlighted in red. And that is a Sahih hadith from An-Nasai. And if you see that in the picture again, the grave is raised. We are not allowed to raise more than a handspan, and it's been plastered, made, very hard. It's not good, and writing is also can be seen from there. These are all wrong things, wrong practices. And also we learn from the same hadith of Uthman ibn Mazun that when a person dies in the same grave, his relatives can be buried as well. Of course, when it completely got disintegrated. That's why he said, and bury him with those who will die of his family. So that means that if you plaster a grave and everything, you're not going to bury more than one person in forever for that whole generation. So that's why you have to make it like in a simple way so that other relatives who die later can be buried in the same grave. But why do we have this restriction? Why is writing on a grave not allowed? Well, people just borrow things from other religion and they say, hey, that is a very good thing. Christians and Jews do very good thing. Why don't we copy it? It's like giving more respect to the deceased and so on. So that's not a right way, because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we mentioned it last time, one of his last words were, the regarding the graves. And we see that things like giving extra respect, venerating a lot, it opens the gate of shirk and all kinds of bid'ah. So that's the reason Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted to cut it from the roots itself. It might seem like okay thing to do, but Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam realized it, that every nation, from starting from Prophet Nuh alayhi salam time, every nation got deviated because of things like that. So he wanted to cut from the roots itself, that hey, just stop, let's stop doing making them do all this stuff. And it's many hadith we said he prohibited people from going close to such things as well, and one of them is writing on graves. And Sheikh Ibn Jibreen, he said that it is okay if somebody wants to place two stones, that is no problem, one at the head and other at the foot, that is fine as well. But the grave marker itself has to be very simple. It should be really plain mark. If somebody wants to write a name on it just to indicate that, hey, this is my relative's grave, so I need to remember it, that is okay, that is fine. But it should not be written like in a fancy manner. As long as you are able to distinguish your relatives' graves from other graves, that is fine, but should not cross the limits, cross the boundaries in that.